be postponed to another night for reasons that are out of our control. So I apologize. If you made plans to be here, you're welcome to list the rest of our meeting, but we will put out a press release with another date. We'll give you plenty of notice. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's February 18, 2022 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body. This meeting of the Great Barrington Select Board will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the town's website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Pursuant to MGL 7C 30A, Section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body, may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listing of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting is being recorded by the town, by the Berkshire Edge, Berkshire Eagle, and other members of the public. We'll start with select board statements, announcements. Eric.
I have nothing at this time. Thank you.
Garfield. You're muted, Garfield. I'm sorry.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed.
Nothing.
Lee.
Nothing.
So the only thing that I have tonight is that the Village of Housatonic for many years has done a roadside cleanup the day after, let me find the date here, sorry. The day after Earth Day, which would be Saturday, April 23rd. And some members of the community said, wouldn't it be great if all of Great Barrington did this? So we are going to put together an effort to do a town-wide cleanup on Saturday, April 23rd, from 8 a.m. to noon. Town will provide bags. We'll do a press release, garbage bags. We'll do a press release. On Monday, those bags will be picked up by the DPW workers. So we'll work on this over the next week and get it cleaned up. But just want everyone to know that this is going to be a community event. It's always been, I participate in one of them in Housatonic, and it's a great event. You feel like you're doing something for your town. And so we will do it for the entire town, both Housatonic and Great Barrington proper. So I just want everyone to know that and be on the lookout for the press release. Mark, town manager's report.
Thanks, Steve. I don't have anything on my list on the agenda for this evening, but I did want to take an opportunity to just give a shout out to our Great Barrington Fire Department for a job well done last Friday, knocking down a fire at the Christian Hill Commons complex. That fire was contained to one unit. So I just wanted to say, great job, well done, and just make mention of that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Under new business, in the packet was the town manager's annual performance evaluation. And my hope is you could get it, board members would get it to me, and Garfield, you already have, you get a gold star. Get it to me as within the next 2 weeks. We'll compile it and we'll discuss it at probably the first meeting in May. That will be our goal. And it will be, as always, this with this town manager, this will be a public document when we get it compiled. So that's just FYI for the board.
Just to clarify, Steve, the individual evaluations will be public, correct?
Yes, they will be.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Ed. Next is Select Board's consent regarding KP Law's representation of Great Barrington regarding a reserve fund for the Rest of River Municipal Committee. Notwithstanding, the firm also represents the towns of Lee, Lennox, and Sheffield. Is this, Mark, is this Chris or you?
I can take this. Is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
This is just giving KP Law consent to represent multiple towns, and that's been the case throughout this process with Rest of Rivers.
Do I have a motion? You're muted, Lee.
Sorry about that. I make a motion to give consent for KP Law to represent Great Barrington in the Rest of the River discussions. Is that?
And knowing that they also represent Lennox and Sheffield.
Knowing that they also represent Lennox and Sheffield.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Citizens speak, and I would ask that we try not to go too far into the short-term rental because we're just not there yet. So,
Steve, do
yes.
you want to repeat the announcement just because there are a lot more attendees than there
is
were?
it okay? So tonight we unfortunately had to put off the short-term rental discussion. It's out of our hands, and we will give you plenty of time, plenty of notice when we're going to have that discussion in the public comment period, but we are not able to have it tonight. So I apologize, and we'll give you plenty of time. Okay. James Manning.
Okay, so you don't want to hear discussion tonight? I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, we're just not ready to have discussion tonight.
Okay.
I'm not going to stop you if you insist.
No. I'm that's fine. So you can mute me again.
I'll do it politely though.
Thank you.
Frederica Siegel.
Yeah, I understand that we're not supposed to talk at length, and I won't. But
Okay,
I was
that's fine.
reading through the most recent draft,
Yes.
and there's 2 points that got my attention. One is that up to 2 bedrooms in a dwelling unit or an entire secondary unit on the same parcel can be registered. And I wondered about the arbitrariness of the 2 bedrooms, because many homes have more than 2 bedrooms. So that's something perhaps for you to think of in the interim. And the second item was that owners can, and I wondered whether, it says as of right, and I wondered whether you envisioned a variance or a special permit process for more than 2 bedrooms. If you stick with that limit. And the other thing is, during the appeal process, I wondered if the penalty would be enforced or not. So it's no need to discuss that. It's just 2 points that I thought you might want to hone while you're waiting for progress.
Valid points. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Claudia Shapiro.
Yeah, good evening. Please incorporate into the record of proceedings. I'm opening with your statement, Lee, regarding the short-term rental email in part. I'm committed to preserving balance in our neighborhoods. That does not and has not applied to me or my neighborhood. You have my putting the town on notice of my ongoing years of public persecution, intimidation, and bullying, struggling with my immediate neighbors and certain town officials. I recently tried to request a meeting or conversation with you to be refused. I read Steve's comments stating this has to do with complete transparency. This would demonstrate adherence to the law and end all questions. I agree with that principle, so I'm on the floor tonight as a taxpaying American citizen, asking from this board as the fathers of this town, and of Mark Brzezinski as the manager of this town, to do just that. I'm asking you to ensure that compliance with the granting of any airport permits of any type by any board does not exceed their authority, are transparent and adhere to the law, and that any airport permits that would lead to airport expansion and or establishment of a Walter J. Kolodzik Great Barrington Regional General Aviation Community Business Airport are transparent, publicly presented, follow proper protocol, are in accordance with a public town meeting, so everybody in the community in the region are privy to what is going to be transpiring and to what to expect to end all questions. I'm asking you to ensure that any permits requested by the airport are filed with this board as a water quality protection permit granting authority, and that they would be transparent and adhere to the law. I'm specifically referring to the site plan review that was approved despite having no required survey and the extraneous material that has nothing to do with demolition and reconstruction of a building that, if not challenged, is to be construed as accepted. I'm specifically referring to that extraneous material as in a terminal building, the provisions for a recycling plant, section 9.2.8, claiming to have my very small quantity generator hazardous waste permit, security fencing, runway expansion to FAA standards with landscaping outside these operational safety standards, and claim they do not need a water quality protection overlay district permit and from this board. And I'm specifically referring to the extraneous material documenting this private airport as a Colossa Great Barrington Regional General Aviation Community Business Airport and to FAA standards. I'm specifically asking you to ensure that the airport is not being permitted behind the scenes, bringing in the FAA. I'm specifically asking you to ensure that the enforcement action going before the zoning board tomorrow night is in fact just that, strictly solely enforcement action related and not avail to accomplish something the law does not allow. I'm including a few comments on the floodplain overlay district proposed amendment intent I encountered at the planning board hearing, the contents of which include a variance, public facilities, all necessary local, state, and federal permits that will be necessary to carry out the proposed development for a use functionally dependent on water. The amendment specifically states in Zone A, a development in the floodways are prohibited unless certification by a professional engineer registered and licensed in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is Mr. Scalise, the preparer of the site plan, and is all in reference to the recycling plant attached to my property to be built on the banks of the Green River in Zone A, which is currently prohibited under the Water Quality Protection Section 9.2. I'm putting the town on notice. Any expansion of the airport that requires any more than what BAE inherited in 2008 needs to be transparent and presented to the community in the region and requires a public town meeting. It's my end of the runway, my United States Environmental Protection Agency number, my very small quantity generator status defined in the bylaw as any entity, public or private, other than residential, my DEP permitted regulated facility within the water supply area that are the vital components to the zoning scheme that will generate direct monetary compensation, grants, incentives for the town and sustain the airport. I'm closing with Lee's quote. I just hope we can focus this discussion on what it means to be a community and where we want to be years from now. It saddens me to think that we can be so polarized because I think deep down, we really want what is the best for the community. I hope there is discussion that focuses on this topic, development/establishment in a Zone A for a recycling plant, and is this legal? Development in the Water Quality Protection Overlay District, Upperhead Wellhead Public Recharge Area, and is this legal? Establishing an airport does not lie in the hands of Great Barrington town officials. This would be illegal. Take this as a sworn affidavit based on personal knowledge, and thank you for the time, Steve.
Thank you, Claudia. Efrat David?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, thank you. I really took the time to listen to previous meetings that I did not was not able to attend, so that I can appreciate all the thought and all the work that the board has put into these issues, and I appreciate all the thoughts. And there's some things that were difficult. I appreciate that too. And after listening to everything and the process that took you to get here, I want to raise concern that I feel that there's a lot of data that is missing in order to proceed with all the decisions that you were making. And in my impression, with many other decisions, there's usually a lot of surveillance data that is presented to the public so that we know what is the problem, and there's consensus on the description of the problem, and there's a discussion about solution that fits the problem. And let me explain that. I know that initially there was some conversation about that short-term rental. Part of the bylaws was to deter commercial interest in residential neighborhoods, so that people would buy houses to use them primarily as short-term rental. But and there were some stories about people being evicted so that houses would be converted to short-term rental, but we don't know how much that happened and whether there was other reasons for shortage of housing. I know that there's shortage of housing everywhere. And then later on, I saw that there was more understanding that short-term rental would not solve that problem. And the reason for deterring started to change. And as a reason for deterring in terms of how board members were understanding each other, the bylaws that followed did not seem to reflect that. So there was a discussion about limiting the income that deterring people from having short-term rentals by limiting the income that they could make out of it, like deciding how many days they would have and how many properties they would have. And one of the things that reason that I heard is that board members agree that they don't want to have investors to invest in 5-6 different short rental properties. So it seemed like a simple solution was just to limit the number of short-term rental properties we can have. But there was a whole presentation about how to calculate how much people can earn from long-term rental versus short-term. But there was no serious study about how does that apply to our area? How much do people really earn? With short-term rentals, there's a lot that get deducted when you from whatever is stated on the website. So I don't know where the average income was determined, but I don't know if they deducted all the fees that you have to pay, the rental, the website, the cleaning, the maintenance. You have to maintain, and so much more. You have to pay for servicing the place. You have to pay for there was one more thing that I forgot.
Yeah, your 3 minutes is up, so if you want to just wrap it up, please.
Yes. So there's much more I want to say about how much more we need to understand how rules that seem to be agreed upon the board came to me as I listened to it. The questions were raised, but a lot of the questions were not answered. Why 2 bedrooms and not 3? Depending on the size,
thank you very much.
I'd like the board to take the time to research more before they propose a short-term rental. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Toole?
Can you hear me?
Yes, name and address, please.
Patrick Toole. I live on 188 East Street. Thanks for, I unfortunately, I hear that you are not able to, or you don't want to have in-depth discussions about the short-term rental properties at this time, because I assume you're still working on the bylaw. Is that right? And you're not ready to have discussion about it?
I'm not answering the reason. We're just not ready to do it.
Okay. Well, I took the time out of my schedule to come tonight, and
go right ahead.
So I'm gonna say a little bit, just
yeah, sure.
And I'll try to.
And I apologize for you taking the time of your schedule.
That's all right, Stephen. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I want to speak from the perspective of a low-income resident who rents in Great Barrington. I've witnessed, over the last 10 years living off and on in Great Barrington that it's harder and harder to find apartments. It's harder and harder to find affordable apartments, and prices seem to be going up and up and up. And from the Multicultural Bridge presentation last week, they said, yes, people have been displaced by this trend. And I believe that to be true. I've witnessed it myself. It's all anecdotal evidence, but I do think that a study is, studies are warranted to see exactly how much it is, but I also recognize those studies are hard to conduct and take time and money and effort. I think something needs to be done so that, as Lee has said, to protect our housing stock, to protect what is currently exists in Great Barrington, as far as housing goes, and to incentivize more long-term rental. So I think that the bylaw, while, you know, in my mind, it's not, it does not quite do, you know, it could do more. I think that I support it. And I know, you know, I think there would be plenty of support for what it does as far as like incentivizing long-term rentals and disincentivizing more short-term rentals. We have enough. We need more places for the workforce to live. We need more places for low-income residents to live. People have been displaced, and it's no good. So that's my perspective.
Thank you very much, Patrick. James, please state your last name and your address.
Good afternoon, board. This is James Garzone, 84 North Lane Road. I just wanted to say, and I'm not going to talk about the short-term rentals. I just want to talk about, I hope that the polarization kind of weans after this debate, because we want to go back to having moderation and making sure that Great Barrington continues to be the place that it's always been, somewhere that is progressive, somewhere that we listen and we debate and we come to a consensus for the better of the community. It's been very tough listening to these phone calls for the past few weeks, and I hope we can get all past this and move forward together. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Couldn't agree with you more. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, select board time. Garfield. You're muted, Garfield. I'm sorry.
Go Kansas.
There you go. Eric.
Nothing. Thank you.
Ed.
No, just a quick apology for turning off the video. I was advised at the Ethics Commission as an abutter to recuse myself in the short term. So the way they say to do that on Zoom is to turn off the camera. So if the citizens are speaking about it, it's off, but I didn't mean to look rude doing that.
Lee.
Just to say that I'm disappointed that we're not able to speak tonight, but I'm looking forward to continuing the discussion on another night.
As am I. Media time. Seeing none, by unanimous consent, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and I apologize again for bringing you, well, it didn't bring you out of your house, but bringing you away from something you may have done, wanted to do. So have a good evening, everyone.
You too, Steve.